Hello and welcome to Moose Meets, where I sit down with various protocols to explore their innovations and what sets them apart. And of course, we'll be digging for some exclusive alpha for you, so make sure to lean in and stay tuned to ensure you don't miss a thing. Without further ado, let's jump right in. Hello and welcome back to another episode. Today, Moose is meeting with Gearbox, where we'll be learning more about Gearbox and specifically discussing about V3. So, hey Igor and hi Margot, how are you guys doing?
Hey, all good, boss. Thank you for having us.
Right, and without further ado, could you guys introduce a little bit about yourself and, of course, what Gearbox is?
Yeah, sure. I'm Magnus. I'm a marketing contributor for the Gearbox now. And along with us, we have Ilgiz. Ilgiz, boss.
Sure, madam. My name is Ilgiz. I'm responsible for product side and Gearbox, everything related to maths and risks.
Awesome, and would you guys want to kind of elaborate a bit more about what Gearbox is and what you guys are trying to do here?
Yeah, sure. I just explained it in two ways. One, at the very simple level, Gearbox gives you leverage that you can use anywhere across DeFi. So effectively, it's a generalized credit layer. And to make it a little more complex, Gearbox is an on-chain credit layer that delivers you leverage through credit account abstraction, which can be used aloud selected DeFi protocols, which depend on what is allowed to the credit account that you rent. How this works is Gearbox has a lending market where suppliers can go ahead and passively supply funds. These are usually the people who do not want to take as much risk, but just want to earn simple yields without doing too much and without having to get into the leverage part of things. On the other hand, we have borrowers. The borrowers come from the people who want to take on leverage. Now, once these people take leverage, what they get is real funds. So effectively, if you have one ETH, you can go ahead and borrow up to 10 more ETHs, and that's how you get leverage. So the 10x ETHs that you have, these are all real spot assets. Now, since you have real spot assets with you, what you can do is you can deploy them across protocols. So say Lido, right? You can go ahead and stake these ETH on Lido and earn stake yield, but leverage stake yield. So it's way better and automatically pumps up the kind of APYs you make and yeah, but that's not it. So as we expand the scope of where this leverage can be used, say for LP or say even for trading, suddenly more and more credit products can be created for you, right? So that's how Gearbox works.
Yeah, I guess like on product level, it could be matched like some leverage wallet. Yeah, so it's like if, for example, your MetaMask wallet, you hold there, I don't know, 2 Ethereum. With Gearbox Trade account, you can have on your leverage wallet like up to 20 Ethereum. So extend more capital, and you can interact with this extend capital with different DeFi applications, and depending on DeFi integrations, it could be different use cases. Like Muggle said, leverage trading, leverage farming, leverage staking, and everything like inside this leverage wallet, everything composable, so you can combine different strategies and build very interesting complex strategies using this leverage layer.
Awesome. And you guys have been around for about 2-3 years now, right? Since 2021. And of course, the main topic today would then be what is V3 for you guys? And my question then would be what's different with V3 compared to V1 and V2, and what are you guys trying to achieve with the new V3?
Yeah, I guess like short recap of Gearbox stories. Like it's started 2021 as one of the winners at Test Global Hackathon. At the end of 2021, I launched our V1, which actually was like I don't know, minimal viable protocol just to test this credit account narrative, how it would work, and so on. V2, which we launched in November 2022, was focused on leverage farming use case, and we saw there a good traction for bear market. So it's like 130 MTVL. We attracted utilization of credit accounts. It's like almost like 70% plus. So it's like fully organic usage of leverage here. And which also like interesting that through credit accounts, there is like transaction volume through credit accounts like exceed $4 billion. So we see like good numbers here. And later, like we start thinking, okay, our end vision of protocol, as we discussed before, is like leverage wallet, leverage layer that could be applied to anything. Yeah. So, like in bear market, I guess leverage farming use case, it's a bit like drained because like people prefer just to put their capital to, I don't know, staking derivatives or to some RWA assets and get like US Treasury yields, and actually that's it. So we start thinking where could be like good sources of yields here, and like trading, leverage trading is still good use case. So in V3, we start thinking about it, how to focus more on leverage trading use cases and what should be done here from user perspective. And of course, from user perspective, I guess like less expensive gas transactions, one of the use cases here, and like it could be solved with going to layer tools. And here we come with the idea that, okay, we need some collateral limits because liquidity on layer tools is like much more narrow than on layer one. So V2 focused on different risk fragmentation and risk management tooling. And also comes with some unique features that simplify different use cases of managing your credit accounts, like Gearbots. So focusing on user experience part here to be able to go to different chains with narrow liquidity and provide better user experience. I guess that's one of the focus that we like keep in our mind building V3. Muggle, maybe you want to add something?
Yeah, no, absolutely agree. I think I just sum it up in a way that V1 was effectively a proof of concept, right? I mean, we had this thought process of creating credit accounts using account abstraction where a user could borrow more ETH than what they have, which is, if you look at credit in general, right? Uh, Aave, Comp, Maker, all of these people have pioneered credit on chain. They've done a tremendous job, but there is a certain amount of limitation towards amount, how much you can borrow against the kind of collateral you have. Gearbox wanted to work on that, cover that segment up. So, say 5x borrowing, 10x borrowing your ETH. We even solved that. When it came to V2, the goal was to kind of go ahead and create applications out of that. So that's where leverage staking came in, leverage on curve came in, leverage on curve V2 came in. And now with V3, what we are effectively trying to solve for is growth and scale. At the moment, we were limited to blue chip, pools, blue chip products, blue chip protocols. With V3, we would be able to, one, integrate more, offer leverage on more protocols, and at the same time, go to more chains, go to more L2s, and offer better UX. So this is where the distinction comes in. V1 was about a proof of concept. V2 was about the first application. And then with V3, we're going for growth.
Awesome. Really like that, man. Like how you guys are slowly but surely right taking the right step in the right direction. And I absolutely love that. So understand in V2, right, you guys had to, like users had to request access to use your leverage farming. Then would V3 be accessible to anyone, or do we still have to go and request access for new users, or only existing V2 users have access to V3, for example?
So in V2, you had to request access for leverage farming and the current products that we had. And this was largely to take care of security. I mean, Ilgiz would be able to explain that better, but I'll just give you an overview. Effectively, what we do is whenever you give us an address, it's not really about whitelisting. We add that to the contract level itself, so that only certain addresses can access the protocol. This kind of ensures that we can check whether the wallet has some kind of history or not, or multiple other security checks in order to make sure that the funds that they borrow remain safe. So this was just a security part that we had. But then what we realized was that the demand was so high compared to the supply that we had, that it did not make sense to completely just open it up. And now when V3 comes up, in terms of margin trading, there's not going to be any whitelisting required. So you won't have to submit any address. You can just simply go ahead and margin trade on Gearbox pure. That won't be an issue at all. But for the farming side, the DeFi leverage side, that is where whitelisting would still work. And that's just a security thing that we do.
Awesome. I like how you guys prioritize security so much. Igor, go ahead.
Yeah, I guess like a bit more like explain our motivation here, because for margin trading stuff, it's like usual security tokens. So actually here we understand all the security stuff and tricks behind it, and I guess if parameters of protocol, like what kind of leverage can be applied to each asset, if these parameters managed properly, there is no any kind of hidden risk for the system. But when you're talking about leverage farming use case, of course, it also comes with risk of underlying protocol. Yeah. So unfortunately, hacks in DeFi space happens, I guess, much more.
More frequently than we would like to.
more frequently, yeah. And chimeras, for example, one of the yesterday's case. Yes, it's very OG protocol and launched bunch time ago. But still, sometimes some shit happens. So we want to eliminate some risks that Gearbox liquidity can be used as exit liquidity for such use cases where some underlying protocol, for example, was hacked. So in that case, for leverage farming use case, we still want to continue to have some gated access. So there is no any kind of QIC or something like that. It's still some onboarding process governed by community of Gearbox. But still, it's a lot. It adds some additional frictions and allow us to mitigate some security risk if some hack happens, for example, of underlying protocol.
Understood. And Igor, you kind of mentioned just now, right, on Gearbots. So, intents are a pretty hot topic right now. Do you want to run us through what Gearbots is and how we can use it?
Yeah, sure. Yeah. I guess let me explain, I guess, from product side why we came for this idea. Actually, leverage is very risky stuff, yeah. And people, when they use leverage, always wanna have some stop losses, I don't know, check profit orders and so on. And we start thinking, okay, how it can be implemented in a native on-chain way. And we come to this idea of implementing Gearbots, which actually allows to delegate some rules, some additional rights of managing your credit account to third parties. This third party should be some on-chain board, and that actually can do some specific operations. So it's on product level, it's a bit similar to Facebook login button. Yeah, when you log in on third-party website using Facebook login, you actually can specify what kind of data you want to provide to this third-party website, and actually Facebook provides this data. So here, logic very similar. When you add different board to your credit account, you can specify what kind of operations you allow this bot to do with your credit account. So, for example, you can specify only Ethereum to USDC at some specific price range, for example. Yeah, and that could be stop loss order in case of some Ethereum price drop, for example. The same logic can be implemented for leverage trading use cases or any other use case. So it's fully permissionless infrastructure for building different delegation rules of managing a credit account.
Right. So, Mago, previously you mentioned that Gearbox is trying to generalize the credit layer, right? Be the credit layer in DeFi, and how does V3 help in generalizing this credit to more protocols? And of course, as you guys are talking about more composability and more protocols and built onto Gearbox, right? How do you see the network effect growing?
Yep, absolutely. So going back a bit, we talked about how Gearbox gives you real assets to create leverage. Now, a limitation that automatically arises is with leverage, there can be liquidations. So what we need is DEX liquidity to be there, and that becomes a limitation towards what assets we can onboard, how much leverage we can give on them, till what level we can give leverage on them as well. So DEX liquidity is a key component of this. Now, in previous Gearbox versions, there was there was no set method for us to kind of limit how much exposure Gearbox would have towards a certain asset. So, say I'll give you an example on this. Say if an asset has $3 million of DEX liquidity, and if Gearbox were to end up, having $1 million of exposure on that asset, that can be an issue because of price attack could happen, and that could create bad debt. Now with Gearbox V3, what we come in with are collateral limits. Now collateral limits, how they function is they put a cap on the total number of assets that can be held on the total value of an asset that can be held on Gearbox. What this means is, so if there's a coin or an asset with just $3 million in liquidity, Gearbox can go ahead and cap it at $300,000 for Gearbox. So once $300 worth of that asset is present on Gearbox, we can limit it. And how that helps us grow, how that helps generalize leverage. One, we can straight away add more assets on Ethereum itself, right? And second, when you look at the protocol level, when we look at different protocols, new protocols that are legit, that work very well, but still do not have as much liquidity, we can go ahead and integrate them by limiting the kind of exposure Gearbox would have to them. But at the same time, if you look at L2s have an issue where the liquidity compared to what ETH mainnet has is a lot lower, and the number of integrations available are a lot lower. But that's not to say they aren't useful. They're useful, but they're just lower in terms of the kind of liquidity they have. With V3, because we have collateral limits, it also enables us to kind of scale to L2s at the kind of integrations they have over there, and completely create a larger network of protocols and assets that and chains and L2s that Gearbox is connected to. And this is what generalizes leverage, right? I mean, Gearbox is effectively prime brokerage. And if we were to only have the 4 protocols that we are linked to, we're very specific in terms of the kind of credit we provide. To become more generalized, what we need to do is we need to cover as many great protocols, assets, pools that we can that are liquid, and thus give more choices to the users. That's the part to become more generalized in terms of the kind of credit Gearbox provides. And through these collateral limits, through limiting the kind of risk exposure that we have to a certain asset, Gearbox does that.
Nice. So could I clarify that Gearbox V3 is coming to L2s on EVMs?
Not exactly at the launch, because we are a DAO. So there will be a DAO discussion. Everything has to be discussed. We actually already have a discussion up. Ilgiz put it up last year, and liquidity was the issue, which is why this feature was developed. But yeah, soon down the road, you can expect Gearbox to be available on L2s.
Awesome. Looking forward to that. And you kind of mentioned as well, right, that you guys are limited to the few protocols right now. And my next question would then be, are you guys looking to add more established protocols, right, such as now that most of the blue chips are covered, right? For example, maybe Pando. Are you guys looking to integrate more established protocols as well? And how are you planning to handle the extra risk there?
I think Ilgiz will be the perfect person to answer this because he's a product person.
Yeah, actually, that was one of the focuses when we keep in mind building V3, because in V2 and V1 onboarding of new protocols, it's a bit a lot of pain because there are a lot of different hidden risks inside protocols. We should build different oracles, for example, for LP tokens to properly measure their value, and also this oracle should be non-manipulatable, and it's very difficult to build on-chain stuff. In V3, it's much lower cost from our side to onboard new protocols, because all you need to build very simple adapter, which is just wrappers of some specific operations of protocols, like, for example, deposit or withdraw. And then you can build very simple Oracle solutions. So in V3, we support like different Oracle providers, not only Chainlink, but also like Redstone, Oracle on-demand solutions like push oracles and so on. So it's very simplified onboarding of new protocols, and taking into account that we now have collateral limits that allow us to limit risk exposure to different protocols. So it allows us to onboard much more risky assets, risky protocols, and as a result gives better yield to passive side of the protocol. And that's, I guess, like one of the core focuses of the team right after V3 launch.
Awesome. And I'm pretty sure that the users, right, are definitely going to increase, and we'll see higher interest coming in, increased interest coming in as the use go up, right, as we get into the bull market, hopefully soon, right? And we pretty much covered most of the user side, right? What about on the lender side? Like, how does it look like for lenders now that you guys are mentioning that there are going to be extra risk in V3, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, actually, like on protocol level, how we see differences here, like from different user segments. There is user segment who want to risk and get higher yields. So that's actually leverage users. They come to protocol, use credit account, get risk on themselves. And as a result, they can earn much more. But of course, like it comes with some risk of liquidations and some other stuff. Yeah, like leverage is risky product, so of course, like you can lose money, be liquidated, and so on. There is like another segment of users who are like don't wanna be active 24/7. Every day looking for positions, trying to find better yield opportunities, better, I don't know, best tokens for trade and so on. So they want to just put their capital and turn passive yield on it. So this is like second part of our protocol. And currently in V2, there was a problem with like low organic yields because we onboarded like blue chip farming opportunities, and as market is bearish and yields like drop a lot, there is no like good farming opportunities on leverage side. And actually, like Gearbox, it's spread protocol, yeah. So there is like passive yield side, and there is like potential farming opportunities on the credit account side. So which we did, it's actually managing the spread. But adding like more risky stuff allows us still in even in bear markets, there is opportunities when people can get 10% plus yield opportunities for farming. There is like traders who are ready to pay 10% plus for getting a leverage when they trade and so on. So adding more risky stuff on credit account side allows us to solve the problem of these low organic yields. So in V3, like our vision here that we can provide to passive side like very good yield. So for them, it will be like very attractive to like just put their capital and actually allow to leverage users to manage it and use across different protocols and across different trading opportunities. And as a result, like get attractive yield on their capital. But of course, like there also arises another problem. Yeah, I guess it's about managing risk because like people who want to just get passive yields, they also can be segmented in different risk profiles. So for someone, I guess like they could prefer only very established protocols and very big tokens to be used as collateral, to be sure that there is no any kind of bad risk or bad scenario inside it. Another user segment could be like ready to provide the capital for more risky stuff. And here we come with the idea of alpha pools, where like one pool could be like inside it of another pool. So for example, big pool will be used as liquidity for low risky farms. But if you wanna get more yields, you can use your LP token and put it in special alpha pool where is listed more risky farming opportunities and longer tail trading assets. And as a result, you at least will be rewarded by this blue chip pool yield, but also like you will be rewarded some exceeded premium for allowing to use your assets in your more risky stuff.
So there is the option for lenders to opt in or opt out of the extra yield and extra risk that comes with it, right?
Yep.
Awesome. And then, in fact, right, I was reading your blog, right, on the on-chain credit layer, the V3 article, and you guys also mentioned something on quotas and gauges, gear staking. Do you want to talk a little bit about that as well?
Yeah, sure. Yeah. Also, starting with product perspective. Yeah. For example, in Aave or any other money markets, it doesn't matter which kind of collateral you provide and how you used borrowed funds. Yeah? You always pay the same interest rate. For example, you provide Ethereum as collateral, borrow USDC, and use this USDC to buy Ethereum, or you use this USDC to buy CRV. Both use cases you pay the same interest rate for borrowing USDC, while actually risk that comes with these strategies is like quite different because Ethereum is less volatile asset. Yeah. So in Gearbox, we want to implement different yield rates for different collaterals. So depending on what kind of collateral you use inside your credit account, you pay different yields. And so like you can buy different quotas and specify what kind of asset you want to use as collateral inside your credit account. Each asset, each quota has like its own yield structure. So as a result, passive lenders will get rewards. Like one part of the reward is like similar to how our yields work, so depending on utilization curve, and second part depending on what kind of risky assets credit account user hold on their credit account and use as collateral. So that's like original idea behind this quotas design. And question here, like I guess that's still not discussed. It's how quota APIs for each assets are defined. And here we come with gear staking model, where gear stakers can define what kind of actions they want to choose. They have two options for each asset. They can specify to vote to downgrade quota API or against upgrade the quota API value. And there will be gauges where every gear staking can vote for different assets, which kind of action they prefer, and as a result, some equilibrium will be found between between the stakers who vote for increase rate or decrease rate, and this equilibrium rate will be paid by credit account users who want to use exactly this asset as collateral.
Yeah, let me explain that with an example as well. Think of it like the gear staking part, right? So the division of the rates that Ilgiz was talking about. Think of it in this manner. Imagine if there was a stick connected with two buckets. One bucket belonged to the lenders, and the other bucket belonged to the leverage takers. and gate stakers effectively decide where they want to put the water or the gate tokens in. So now, whichever bucket gets more gate tokens, it will become heavier. Now, if the lender bucket becomes heavier, the lenders make more, and if the leverage takers bucket becomes heavier, they make more. And this more is defined by the additional revenue that the new additions in terms of protocols, in terms of DeFi opportunities that we add.
Right, yeah. My question for as a user, right, would then be, because you guys were saying that the rates are kind of dependent on what we are going to do with the money, right? So then, for example, if I were to borrow USDC, and then do I have to tell you or tell Gearbox, right, what I'm going to do with it, and then based on that, you guys are going to charge me a dependent rate, and is my borrowed USDC limited to that certain protocols that I want to do? Like, I can't be telling you A and doing B instead, for example.
Okay, so this is where it gets very interesting. So how Gearbox works is by using account abstraction, right? The credit accounts that you borrow, they are abstract accounts. So how it works is abstract accounts are effectively smart contract wallets. They are not the same, MetaMask wallet or the EOA that you use usually to interact with different protocols. They are a smart contract connected to them. Now, since they are a smart contract connected to them, we can define exactly where the funds are to be used. And now, whenever you use the funds there, you do not need to declare anything. But since that smart contract is now connected to that external protocol, the system, the Gearbox, protocol can determine where you're using those funds. So, because we now can determine exactly where you're using your funds, we can charge you the rates accordingly. So, it's pretty much automated, and the user does not have to do anything over there.
I see, right. So it's after a user uses the funds, and then you guys are able to see how he used it and then charge the rates
Yep.
afterwards. So we would not know what the rate is at the time of borrowing. Is that correct?
So a range will be decided on, and so not initially, but over the course of a couple of months, you would have access to historical data on what the rates have been. But a minimum range and a maximum range will be applied. It can't be so if you're a leverage taker, you do not have to be worried that suddenly you'll be charged 150% APY, because whatever the maximum rate is, that will be decided by the DAO on whatever asset that you want to go for, and also the minimum will be decided. So it's not going to be extremely volatile, but it largely takes into account the volatility that the rates on different DeFi protocols are present, right? I mean, even if you look at the staking rate, which is supposed to be more stable, over the course of a year, it has gone from 5.7% to even mid of threes, right? So to account for that volatility and make sure that the dynamic between the lenders and the leverage takers, the kind of profit division that happens, that is something that works out for both. So that's largely why the voting is actually taking place. But it will be defined within a range that the leverage taker will have complete access to.
All right, I see. Thanks so much for explaining this. And my next question would then be, can Gearbots compete at scale, or how can Gearbots compete at scale?
Okay, so I'll just talk a bit about this, right? So one of the outcomes of Gearbox V3. So V3 is a protocol thing where we are changing the kind of code base that we have to make it more scalable, to make it more composable, to make it safer, and all of that. But in terms of product, it creates an amazing thing. It creates when we take this leverage on dexes, it creates margin trading. How margin trading works is you get real assets, and using dexes you can swap it to any other token that you're allowed to through a credit account, which means that you have now access to all the liquidity that is present on dexes. You have access to all the assets that are allowed on dexes, and thus automatically the liquidity fragmentation that we see with leverage today. So we know that there are pretty much like 40 or 50 per protocols today, and while they're doing a great job in bringing leverage on chain, uh, they inherently go through an issue of fragmenting liquidity between themselves. Like the liquidity that is present on GMX, you probably won't be able to use it on hyperliquid liquidity or Quenta or something like that. So all of them individually need to have their own liquidity, which is provided by counterparties. When you look at Gearbox, since we're using DEXs, so all the liquidity that is present on Uniswap, all the liquidity that is present on Curve, we can harness all of that. So we remove liquidity fragmentation over there, which means scaling effectively becomes easier for us. So even if you look at a larger size Ethereum sell order on Uniswap right now, maybe say $20 million dollar sell order, it would probably have a slippage of 0.9%. If you were to try and go ahead and execute a $20 million market sell order on a fair few other leverage protocols, that would create massive slippage and massive spread that could put in jeopardy two things: one, the kind of PNL that you have, and the protocol's counterparties. Gearbox does not have counterparties. Gearbox margin trading, Gearbox pure, will only be trading on dexes, and thus dexes have the kind of liquidity required to enable that, and that will enable Gearbox to scale.
Awesome. I like how you explain that, where you guys are just tapping onto DEXs, right, instead of taking on the risk on your own.
Yeah, and honestly, the part where counterparties get removed is also pretty important if you think about that, right? I mean, counterparties are required by pretty much majority of the other perpetual protocols or perpetual apps that we see today, in order to make sure that whatever the user PNL is, it can be settled. It effectively acts as the house. So if a user makes money, the counterparties lose money. If the user loses money, the counterparties make money. So perpetual protocols majorly require the users to lose money over a longer period of time in order to remain sustainable. Gearbox does not need that. Gearbox wants the users to win, because again, we are on dexes, right? This is pure simple leverage, pure assets, absolutely spot. So there are no counterparties, nobody's trading against you. You go ahead and win. We won that.
Awesome. So you guys also mentioned about margin trading earlier, and I couldn't really find much information on margin trading from your published post on Twitter or your blog. So could we hear a little bit more about what margin trading is from you guys?
Yeah. So if you look at centralized exchanges today, they excel with the kind of features they have: stop loss, copy trading, take profit, limit orders, things like these. And there are fair few dexes that still lack them, right? And I think, I mean, it is enabled by Gearbots, but I think Ilgiz should talk about that once more, because that's an amazing thing to have on
Yes.
chain without requiring a private keys.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. So, like, there's two ways to provide leverage for user who want to leverage trade. Yeah. First one is perpetual exchanges. Second one says margin trading. Margin trading, it's a way when you borrow some assets and then use this borrowed asset to trade and get your portfolio. And if your portfolio value falls below some value, your portfolio will be liquidated, and vice versa. If you trade in right direction, when you close position, for example, I don't know, you wanna long Ethereum, you borrowed 50K, put some Ethereum as collateral, then swap this 50K to Ethereum and just sit and hold these assets. Then Ethereum price, I don't know, doubled, and now you sell your Ethereum you have, and now you have 100K. You can pay back your debt, 50K, with some interest rates that accrued during this time, and all assets that you left, it's like your profit, like 50K minus some interest that accrued. Yeah, that's how margin spot trading looks like. So you always trade on spot market, on real spot market. To have more assets to trade, you borrow some funds from pools and use it for trading. And your portfolio value all assets that you have used as collateral to understand what kind of health factor of position you have, and if like you trade against an price direction, you can be liquidated. And this comes with a lot of benefits, like Muggle already described, I guess. And our vision of margin trading here is that in Gearbox, we are focused on leverage infrastructure for user, and that's it. We should not focus on liquidity side, because we can use all existing liquidity from Uniswap, Curve, and any other dexes. We shouldn't focus on liquidation side, because everything works as protocol designed. All we focused on is like providing this leverage infrastructure, and that's it. So I guess that's one of the big benefits of DeFi, because like if you are some DeFi service, you should build all infrastructure layers inside your company, yeah, and it's very difficult to be successful in all of the spots. And in DeFi, different parts are very composable, and in Gearbox, like we built this composable leverage that could be applied to any existing dexes, any existing protocols, and that's very big advantage of Gearbox, especially in comparison even with like DeFi perpetual protocols, because each DeFi perpetual protocols, first of all, should solve the liquidity problem. And if there is no liquidity, like people trade with bad prices, there is price swings, there could be liquidation cascades and so on. A lot of bad things and hidden risk inside the system. In Gearbox, we just focus on leverage layer. All other stuff is built by another protocols, and we use like best liquidity sources like Uniswap. We can use best routing mechanism like CowSwap or 1inch, for example. Yeah, for now, like there is no integration yet, but it's in our roadmap, and I guess in early 2024 we like implement it. So like you will get best DeFi experience. We can combine it inside one product for you, while you use like leverage from Gearbox.
I like that. I really like the idea, man, of how you guys are just focused on providing the leveraging infrastructure, right? And then tapping onto the best protocol from each other sector, be it the DEX or the routing systems, right? And I think that's really smart. Margot, do you want to say something?
Yeah, actually, just wanted to. So you know what happened recently on DYDX, right? Where they had to use their insurance fund because of the price manipulation event that happened. So this is again something that can be avoided if we go with the kind of margin trading that Gearbox has. All real assets, no VIX. Nobody's running your stops. Nobody's running a liquidation engine against you to kind of run your stops, because there are no counterparties against you.
Mm-hmm.
So nobody's trading against you. You're completely on DEXs. Whatever liquidity is on DEXs, that is what defines the kind of output would be for you. So that is where another safety mechanism automatically kicks in when you margin trade instead of trading perpetuals. So they will deliver the exact same experience. They will deliver you leverage, but how they work against you and how they work for you will completely changes.
I hate getting liquidated by a scam wig, so anyone's
Exactly.
building that I love that, man. Whoever builds that, I support. All right, and one final question for you guys, right? So now that we got V3 out already, what is next for Gearbox? Could you share a bit about that? What you guys have planned ahead, or maybe for the next year?
Yeah. So I'll just lay this out. At the moment, we are going to be deploying V3, and right after deployment, we're going to go into an alpha testing phase. It's just to make sure that everything's fine, everything's taken care of, and to make sure that security and safety are up to the kind of point that we want. We've already kind of made it stronger by releasing a V2.1, which focused on cutting out all the unnecessary complexities and bolstering up the entire security framework for the protocol. So between V2 and V3, we have actually had a V2.1 completely focused on security. And this is where the collateral limits and were also brought in. So now we're going to launch an alpha testing phase. Then somewhere around January, we're going to have another release coming out where we would exit the alpha testing phase and go more towards a beta launch and have a more expansive version of margin trading. Gearbox Pure is going to be the new product that we have in place apart from the existing, DeFi leverage that we offer. And that's going to be a cool one, right? Because suddenly we have access to margin trading on dexes. So focus for us will be on two sides. One, growing the kind of network that we have. So more L2s, more assets that are available on dexes. So I mean, you don't just want 5 or 10 coins, right, to trade on. You need anything that comes in. You need the hot ones. So creating the frameworks of how we add those, adding those actually, expanding to L2s, and just growing margin trading against pretty big competitors already. To be honest, that's going to be a challenge, and delivering that at the same time from a UX perspective, improving the kind of features that we have, improving the kind of overall user experience that we offer in order to make it easier to margin trade itself because it is a high risk environment and you need better risk parameters. So that is largely what Gearbox is going to be working on over the course of the next year.
All right. Thank you so much for sharing that, Margot. And thanks,
Oh, we
Igor and
could actually
Margot.
do one more thing. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
Just
go ahead.
one last thing. We're also going to be introducing points.
Oh,
Uh, so we recently did a post on Gearbots, which had that Telegram thing at the end. Maybe you could ask a question on that you joined the Gearbot on Telegram, and you got to receive the message regarding points, and then Ilgis can probably answer you what the points would do.
awesome. I mean, drop me the link, man.
Yeah, absolutely. That's going to be fun.
All right. Thanks, Margot, and thanks, Igor, for taking the time to come on and explain about what you guys are building with V3. I think it's really exciting, right? I'm looking forward to personally try it out, right? Thank you for coming on once again, and thanks for the listeners for tuning in to this episode, right? We will see you in the next episode. And that brings us to the end of this episode of Moose Meets. I hope you enjoyed learning more about them as much as I did. Let me know which other projects you would like to learn more about in the comments down below. As usual, do remember to hit the thumbs up and subscribe to the pod. We will see you in the next episode.